Admiral's Log, October 28, 1904. The echoes of a monumental victory for the Russian Navy reverberate through this day. In a masterful display of naval prowess, we decisively crushed the Austro-Hungarian task force in the treacherous waters of the Sea of Japan, a victory destined to be remembered in history. The confrontation unfolded amidst a raging storm, reflecting the fierce and relentless nature of our battle. Our fleet, consisting of every available warship, engaged the enemy with unyielding ferocity. The Austro-Hungarian ships caught in the onslaught were methodically and ruthlessly dispatched, with all but one succumbing to the might of the Russian Navy. This triumph is not merely a testament to our naval superiority, but also marks a pivotal moment in the war. The significant loss inflicted on the Austro-Hungarian Navy has sent ripples of shock and dismay through their nation. The streets of Vienna and Budapest now echo with the murmurs of defeat and calls for peace. In response to this overwhelming victory, I have recommended that our government commence negotiations to conclude this conflict. The destruction of the Austro-Hungarian task force opens a window of opportunity for diplomacy and reconciliation. Standing at the helm of this formidable naval feat, I guide our fleet and nation towards a hopeful horizon. The prospect of peace, following our recent victory, not only bolsters the morale of our sailors and citizens, but also positions Russia as a dominant force in the forthcoming peace negotiations. The war has been arduous for both sides, and the path to peace remains complex and challenging. However, the Russian Navy under my command stands ready to defend our motherland's honor and interests. As I write this log, the winds of change suggest the promise of a new dawn. The sacrifices of our sailors and the resilience of our fleet have paved the way for a future where peace and stability reign. Our strength, unity, and diplomatic efforts will endeavor to secure a lasting peace for Russia and her people.
Hey guys, still here and welcome to episode 7. The peace that I was hoping for has been signed. This is good news and bad news. First, let's look at the good news. I can get up to 263 million from the Austro-Hungarians, but I cannot get Ukraine back. Unfortunate. As for the ships that these guys have, yeah, I'm not really that interested, although I could do with another battleship. I'm not sure whether this is 60 million, this one's 78. Let's take this one. Can I get another? Because my own battleships are basically, well, they haven't aged. Oh, actually, they've aged a lot, but they haven't been innovated. Okay, so I can propose that I get one battleship and 185 million. And that is exactly what these guys agreed to. So, let's see what this is. Oh, now... Sorry, dude. Victims are inevitable. I don't like it. It is the situation with war. Fortunately, this means that Poland, at least for the time being, is not going to get invaded. But this bunch here does pose strategic problems. Because now they have Odessa. And with Odessa, they actually have a port in the Black Sea. The Black Sea used to be my little pond. It no longer is. Also, Moldova over here is looking ripe for the taking. This is problematic. Anyway, what is that new ship of theirs? What exactly did I inherit? The Niederaltaich. This one's packing 13.3-inch guns. Displacement, 15,000 tons. So it's actually less than mine? Tell me. What exactly did I buy for 60 million? Right. 17 knots, cramped quarters. Nickel armor steel. Okay. Oh boy, and no armor to speak of. Yeah. Sadly, you cannot inspect the ships before you buy them. But if you can, for any ship that you buy, kick the tires a few times. See if you can actually kick through the tire into the citadel. And if it does, please don't buy it. Because now I'm stuck with a battleship that I can't really use. So we're going to mothball this thing. And we're going to see if somebody wants to buy it from me. I'm not sure if they will. Oh, 78 million even. I'm not sure if they will, but here's to trying. Now, the bad news is my budget has been nicely reduced to pre-war situations, i.e. peacetime. This means my budget is once again in trouble. And not by a little bit, like by a massive margin. I can once again not invest much in crew training nor technology. Transport capacity I'm going to reduce a bit. I do want to keep it around 1%, so it does keep growing. And hopefully my economy will grow, because at the moment that's like non-existent. What's the next strategy, the next plan, the next maneuver? Considering how Japan is probably still a little pissed with me, it would be okay, or at least fairly easy to piss off the Japanese. Yeah, minus 21. The Spanish are minus 54. I'm not sure why. I've never even seen the Spanish around here, nor have I sent ships to Europe. China is actually positive, so I don't have to worry about those. Okay. I'm going to try taking off the Spanish. I know it's already worked, well, kind of backfired once, i.e. I started a war with Austria-Hungary and they said, oh, that looks nice, and they just took it. With Spain, I don't foresee the same problem, but I could be wrong. I will bring the other ships that I have here home. That is the surviving task force. You're going to go back to Sevastopol. And, well, we're going to just go through a whole bunch of months. And when anything interesting happens, I will let you know. Over the last few months, I've been pushing the Spanish, insulting them, driving them crazy, and it seems to have worked. They've sent us an ultimatum to withdraw our fleet. Sure, I guess. I'm not even sure what fleet they're talking about, because the closest fleet that I have is in the Black Sea, so it's nowhere near. We are going to go to war. Now, the situation in Europe has been already growing unstable. And I actually quite like this. Because if these nations start hammering each other, then they're all going to take losses to their own fleets. Which is perfect, because if you look at some of these nations, they have ridiculous numbers. Now, this war also means that my alliance with the French, or at least my relationship with the French, is getting better. I've been doing a little bit of, let's say, buttering up to the French, and here's why. If the French are able to turn into my ally, like my full ally, I will go to war with Austria-Hungary. Possibly. That wouldn't be good. But the French have 36 battleships. I can let them do the fighting against the Spanish, while I continue my endeavor of getting my economy back on track and look at the tech budget. I don't care about crew training, we're just going to use recruits anyway. But I do care about the tech, because at some point it said very far behind. That's not something I want to see at all. So, with this increased money from the new war situation, I can push this even higher, up to 100%. The transport fleet is still increasing, and I don't believe that my transports are operating anywhere near Spain. So I don't believe that I need to send any ships here. I don't have any transports that I need to defend. When it comes to possibly taking Spanish territory, I rather doubt that I can muster the tonnage required to do so. Because, especially when you're invading even, well, smaller positions, it's tough. You need a lot of force. You need a lot of tonnage in order to get that done. As much as I would like some territory in Europe, I mean, beyond the Black Sea, I don't think it is currently in my best interests to pursue that. I think, and this is also role-playing as the Admiral, that trying to keep up with the other nations and trying to get better tech is within my best interests. I'm not really that interested in getting better battleships. I am mostly going to be running a cruiser navy, because so far the cruisers have done a lot of work for me, and if I can have like one battleship per, I don't know, 8 to 10 cruisers, leading the charge, taking up the damage, and then the cruisers actually being the one that dish it out, I would much appreciate that. I think that is better for the type of territories that I need to defend. Something else that's happening, the army is taking a little stroll, you know, leisurely stroll across southern Siberia, right into Kamchatka. again, it's one of those factors that you just have no impact on, and the game just went, yep, no, we're gonna take Kamchatka back. I thought, okay, go do your thing, and looks like they're doing their thing, because they've already advanced a lot. It would be nice getting a little bit of a bonus to the economy again, and this is, what, 300 million a year income? So, considering that my finances are 5%, I do get a slight chunk of change, but it's not going to be that significant. So let's see. Is it going to be possible to soak up to the French enough and get them to turn into an ally? Or is that going to be my undoing? Not 1 month later, and France says, sure, we're going to offer you an alliance, but they need a considerable financial aid to support its navy. Why? You got 36 battleships. Do you need to fund cruisers or something? So I can say, well, France, that's all nice and good, but I'm going to get more naval prestige, yet I'll not have my alliance. I'm going to give them the money. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I really want the alliance with the French. And of course, that's going to upset some other powers. So, the Germans and the United States are now at war. I have my alliance with the French. We have some new tech. And slowly but steadily, I feel like I'm catching up with all of the other nations. It's not going very quickly. We're still behind. Britain is still probably very advanced, but even the US is behind. That is unusual. Even the US is behind. And their economy is like, what, 3 times mine? Yeah, about 2.5. So they don't really have any particular reason to be behind in their tech. So, let's see what's going to happen next. Is the French Navy going to help me defeat the Spanish? Because they might follow me into the war. The French, that is. When they do, it is entirely likely that we're going to start seeing victory points as the Spanish gain victories over... Or sorry, as the French gain victories over the Spanish, and then I can end the war whenever I feel like it. That is the master plan. Something I haven't done in a very long time is design a new ship. And it's time. Because we now have access to the Dreadnought 1 hull. So why now? Well, the Dreadnought 1 hull obsoletes the other hulls. So, the other battleships, the Ovsetterov class, I cannot build that. Well, I can still build it, but I can't adjust it anymore. Because it considers this thing too old. Because the Dreadnought just supersedes everything. Now, these Dreadnoughts are capable of displacing maximum 26,000 tons. That's a big ship, at least for this era. It is 6,000, almost 7,000 tons heavier than the Ovsetterov class. And, I am definitely going to make use of that, because these things are going to be the tanks of the fleet. They'll take the damage. They are going to be the ones that make sure that the cruisers are not going to take the brunt of the damage. These guys are going to take the brunt of the damage. Now, this means they're going to have to be as survivable as possible. So Crypt 1, Anti-Torpedo 3, double hull bottom, reinforced bulkheads, best citadel, and anti-flood. I'm also considering them giving them maximum quarters, like spacious. It doesn't add that much weight, and 100 tons, I think, is perfectly acceptable. Now, when it comes to the guns on this ship, this is where it's going to be interesting to see what we have available by now, and I'm thinking it's going to be pretty disappointing. We have Mark II 13-inchers, Mark II 12-inchers, and Mark III 11-inchers. I'm going to take 11s. I don't believe that the other ships... Yeah, they also carry 11s. But I much prefer Mark III over Mark II. Because these things reload in 82 seconds, these reload in 57 seconds. And if you look at the accuracy, it is pretty significant. The amount of damage that they can do might be a little less, but that's something I can perfectly live with. Now, the guns on this ship are not going to be very big. They're not going to have tons and tons of guns either. Because these are the tanks. And they're going to be close in with anything else. That's why they have all that torpedo protection. What? Oh, I can only have one barbette. Right. Okay. That's unfortunate. I still need to do a bit of research. But, oh, I bet I can have a big super bar... That weighs 200 tons. That weighs 142 tons. Right. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. that I can fit this and not the other thing. But okay, if I can then have the medium superimposed barbette there with the turret on top of it. Oh, crap. In this era, you cannot yet, unless you've researched it, have a whole lot of guns. I am so used to operating in 1925, 1945, 1950 that I just always assume that you can have this many guns. Unfortunately, you can't, unless you do the research. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board. In more ways than one. We'll also have to do more research. Can this do a 360? No scope? Or should I say no rangefinder? Yeah, okay, so this works. I'm checking this because this ship is going to be in close. And this means that I want my turrets to be able to snap the targets quickly. Let's give them the barbette armor that they need. Let's give them the enhanced turret rotations and loading systems. And considering I'm going to be quite close, I'm probably going to use Coincidence Rangefinder. Advanced, TNTs, Ballistites. And then the type of shells. I'm thinking of going with a... How should I put this? Like a reverse system? And by that, I mean, I'm going to go with a ship that has guns like these to take out cruisers. It is not going to be a ship that is sheerly there to take out enemy battleships, because that is what my cruisers will do. That's what the cruisers will do. So now I can probably, on the stern, you gonna go over there, I can probably use this. And I can probably mount some decent secondaries on there. 5 inches. What, do I have anything that's Mark III? Oh, right. Okay. That's not great. Mark II it is. This is going to add to the firepower as well as stabilize the ship, because I have the turret this far back. Now, I also have casemates. The problem with casemates is they are quite heavy. Especially if you want to just... like, do that. That adds a ton of weight. It does make it a very deadly contender at short range. Because at short range, and I mean about 5,000 meters, you'll be able to start penning quite a decent amount of armor, and that's with semi-armor piercing shells. If I'm going to go to standard or capped, we're looking at a pretty respectable pen. Like 14 inches. That's going to cut cleanly through a cruiser most of the time. I'm also going to go with soft-capped HE, so that my HE doesn't overpen, if it even does, and otherwise I'll just cleanly cut through, well, basically everything else. The problem is, if I have this many of those 8-inchers, I don't think I'll be able to tack on the amount of armor that I really want. So first I'm going to tack on the armor, and then see what I need to adjust in order to keep this thing afloat. I.e., not massively over its distribution there. So let's armor her up. Let's say 12 inches of side armor there, 4 inches of top, 12-inch barbette armor. Yeah, I'm 2,500 tons over. That's a lot of weight. I'm not going to do anything about the diameter or the barrel length because I don't want that. Let's increase the steering. Induced boilers would give me even more engine efficiency, but that's not necessarily going to give me a whole lot. I can reduce the range a bit, because I don't expect to do great expeditionary missions. 12,000 kilometers is fine. And this means I only have to work away, well, let's say about half. Okay, so I got 3 on the bow. Pretty much got 3 on the stern. Let's add a couple of smaller ones. Maybe 4 inchers. So that when we're perfectly broadside next to something, we can blow it apart. These guys have less pen, naturally. They have less damage output. But with HE and AP, actually, they can still pretty decently go through most targets, but only at very short ranges. Now, torpedo launchers only weigh 9 tons. So I'm definitely going to bring those. And this gives me yet another surprise punch if something comes too close. Or at least for my taste, it does. Let's give her... I'd say an increased AP complement, because I think that the increased AP is going to give me the most pen on cruisers. Yeah, 23 inches of pen. Although we have seen with the Austro-Hungarians that they have almost no armor. If I go for standard shells, at 10,000 meter range I can pen 18 inches of armor. I think that'll be enough. Because keep in mind, the second line is going to be made up by the cruisers. And the cruisers bring the torpedoes. And the torpedoes, they bring the damage. Casemate armor is hefty. 12 inches of casemate armor. That's a lot. These 4-inchers fire every 8 seconds, and these bigger guns fire every 27 seconds. Damn, they're not fast. How heavy is one? 175 tons. Yeah, a turret's 148. But 2 of these is 234. So 2 of... let's say a dual barrel turret is better than 2 casemates, arguably. So if I put like an additional 8-inch turret over there, and I armor that up... Oh, you can't. You can only give it like 9 inches of side armor. Huh. That's not ideal. But it does give me a far greater firing arc than just having those guns there. Alright, I'm going to forego the 8-inchers on the casemates and just add more turrets. This should be able to get a pretty decent amount of fire to light down. I wonder. Yeah, look at that. What? That won't fit? Come on, do better. Is it perhaps this one? That might be it. No? What sort of turret or barbette do you need? Barbette for small guns. There. It's not really going to help my pitch, but it will help my firepower. Because if I'm going towards a target, I'll be able to bring these 11-inchers to bear, these 8-inchers, and these 8-inchers. So that's a substantial amount of damage that I can do against those targets. It does look a little weird, the way that the barbettes rotate it, but okay. There. Now let's armor these things up. And potentially put another one here. So it's a really, really heavily armed ship. Can it survive? I hope so. Let's increase the barbette on these. Speed-wise, I'm a little slow. I'm only doing 21 knots. And when it comes to my top speed, it's listed for 22.5. So let's say 22. Because I do need a way to close the distance against the targets. If I don't have that, I'm going to be in trouble. Can I increase this? No, it's a bit heavy. Natural boilers. I can up the aft deck a little to pull back some of the 4 weight offset. There. Okay. Now, in honor of the ship that did so incredibly well, how did they write that? I think like that? Europa class? This is going to be the Europa class. It does have still the 4-inch casemates, a couple of them. It has a lot of 8-inch guns, and they're not afraid to hurt you. These dual barrels will hit you at about 5,000 meter range, I think. And they'll be able to either hit you really hard with HE, or even harder with armor piercing. And that's a lot of firepower. Broadside, I can bring to bear probably about 12. And that's not even counting the main guns. So this thing has firepower for days. It's also going to be really expensive. That's $180 million for a battleship. The previous generation was 131. So I probably won't have a whole lot of these. Like 2. 1 potentially in the Black Sea. And 1 somewhere in the Asian theater. like my far eastern shores, to make sure that if the Japanese or the Chinese get any funny ideas, they're going to be met by one of these things, backed up by the cruisers. Hopefully, that combination will work. It is going to be expensive, and it's going to be expensive for a while. That's 18 million a month. So I'll have to save money somewhere else, because I'm already going broke pretty quickly again. Let's reduce the tech budget like to 85%, and that's a little better. I want to have these things, for now, in a limbo state. I don't want to select a port yet. I want to see what the situation is going to be like in, let's say, 15 to 18 months, and then set a port for them. Because now, I don't know, we're building them in thin air, as opposed to in one of the ports that I can set. Let's see how this war, this potentially cold war, is going to develop. As the war develops, something else gets sucked in. Austria-Hungary. Here we go again. They are threatening us that they will declare war. If they so want to, we shall do so. We should gather the press to announce that we're mobilizing our forces to prepare for a war breakout as a response to the continuous harassment of Austria-Hungary. Screw these guys. This is going to, of course, once again upset the balance. It's going to further cement my relationship with the French, and potentially even allow me to ally with the British. It's an interesting situation to be in. Now, I've been doing a little bit of skirmishing here with the Spanish. I'm not exactly fighting Spanish warships here. I am raiding their commerce. I am attacking their economy. It's a group of heavy cruisers, and it is targeting a bunch of transports. So naturally, I immediately get a victory. And I still don't exactly know what the port damage does, because it doesn't seem like it really affects the port at all. It's not like the port of Santa Cruz is... Why are you provoking me? It's not like the port of Santa Cruz is now, I don't know, out of commission. Maybe it's holding a little bit less tonnage, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, now that we're at war with Austria-Hungary, I might need to end my raiding of the Spanish Navy, because I have absolutely nothing defending the Black Sea, and there happens to be a sizable Austro-Hungarian Navy. What's worse, I believe the Austro-Hungarian Navy is able to transit these straits. I am not. I'm not sure if I can, because I believe the Austro-Hungarians are allied with the... No, they're allied with Iraq. They used to be allied with the Ottomans. And then they stopped. Okay. So I can go back to the Black Sea. Now, this fleet might look very intimidating, but keep in mind, most of it, like well over half of it's made up out of torpedo boats, which aren't that spectacular. I'm going to send my fleet back. I have been working on crew training at the expense of research and transport cap, and I want to increase research, or I want to increase crew training a little more to make sure that my people can actually pretend to hit something in the battle that is most likely going to be coming pretty soon. Because if I'm going to be going in with a bunch of cadets, I'm in trouble. I'm also hoping that the Hungarian Navy, that the Hungarian Army is going to be very busy over here, taking over Serbia. This area here, the Ukraine area, very much encircled by my forces. So it is possible I'm able to get this back. That's my hope, but it's not something I can influence. There is something, however, that I just recently learned about the game, and that is the army logistics stat. It's a factor affecting the supply of your army, heavily dependent on the fleet's ability to protect supply routes. What is not quite clear to me is whether those are my supply routes in the area of war or everywhere. The game doesn't make that very clear. Additionally, army logistics are dependent on the number of controlled provinces and their population. A nation which is overextended is going to need a considerably large navy. I probably need more ships. But the problem that I now have is that my economy cannot support that. I'm trying to get bigger shipyards, and this is something that you just need to do about every 4 to 6 years to maintain some form of a shipyard that can start fielding bigger and bigger ships. I mean, I'm not up to 57,000 tons yet. I can't build anything like that. I can't design it. But it also extends my shipyard or shipbuilding capability. with shipbuilding capacity. So I'm going to be able to build more ships simultaneously. When it comes to shipbuilding, a couple of months have progressed. And this means that the new battleships / the dreadnoughts are going to be ready in 9 months. I'm going to set... No, I'm not going to set them yet. I am tentatively preparing to have one of these operate out of Sevastopol, so that they'll immediately greet the Austro-Hungarian warships with cruiser support, because I'm not sending one of those things out solo. So we're going to have to get these guys back. It's going to take 3 to 4 turns or so, and then hope that the battleship is ready. Send the whole package out and start dealing with these guys. I will not be doing that in this particular episode, though. A lot has happened on the strategic map. I've got the new ship design. Now let's see if it's all going to come together in the next episode. Hope you guys will join me there. Thank you for watching this one. I'll see you soon for more.